What's up, you beauties? Welcome to High and Wide Radio, episode 9 of season 6. I'm your host, Jim Icavone, joined by the one and only Jack Smith. If you're watching us live on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed and set an alert for future shows. If you're listening as a podcast, make sure you're listening and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Spotify to get notifications for future episodes the minute we upload them. Boys and girls, we have a topic-packed show for you tonight. Flyers come home from out west. Next game's tomorrow night against the Carolina Hurricanes. Let's kind of kick it off with the road trip, Jack. I know we have some stuff to get to. Carter Hart. Where'd our topic list go here? Obviously, the topic of the episode, or the name of the episode, something fishy. And we'll get to that. It has to do with Carter Hart. A couple Flyers sent down back to the Phantoms. Trouble out in Edmonton. And if that has anything to do with the Flyers, we'll be talking some Cam York later in the show. And obviously, a man was charged in the death of Adam Johnson. We'll touch on that as well. Not going to want to miss that. So that started out anything but great with a loss to the lowly San Jose Sharks.
Well, first off, you can see I joined the headphone game. Apparently, I'm the problem. So we're gonna try to fix that problem.
All right, Taylor.
I'm a little late. Everybody we have on, old host, new host, they all got it but me. So here I am. So I was hoping. It's almost like he knew it was going to happen, and a lot of people said that, and it sucks to be right sometimes. When you want to see how the team is different, like the changes from then to now. One of the biggest things is not getting blown out by rivals. I think they've done that so far. It's a little early still. But one thing this team used to do in the failed era, I call it, is they gave up. I think the Arizona Coyotes had the exact same record or something close to it like 2-3 years ago. And they came in and they beat the Flyers in overtime in Philly. And it was like deja vu. Except for I think the Sharks were worse than that team. And you could tell early on when they gave up that first goal, I'm like, they're going to lose this game. They had some pressure at some point, but you knew it wasn't going to be enough. You knew they weren't going to pull it off. And the Sharks were probably like, this is it. We get it. Vegas was right. They were the first team top team to get the first win of the season against the Flyers. They nailed it. It really stunk. And it almost every time this team gets on a roll, in some capacity, whether it's a certain player or players or whatever, they have like a clunker like this. And you think about the Ottawa game earlier in the season, the Kings smoked them a week ago, and now this game this past weekend and whatnot. And I'm just like, it just makes you laugh. And I'm glad we're not in a time where we're trying to win, because if something like this happened like it did the first time, I'd be losing my mind. But it definitely sucked to see.
Yeah, and so I thought they were going to win. They had a couple days off in between, I think 2 days off to get there on the West Coast, even though they lost, 2-1, I believe. And they didn't look good for 2 periods. They still were out shooting the Sharks by like 20 shots. I'm like, come on, like one of these has to go in, to tie the game. And unfortunately, Mackenzie Blackwood, he's like the arch nemesis, or, the Flyers. Every time he plays the Flyers, it's like his Stanley Cup. I think he had like 38 saves or something like that. It was disappointing. I think it kind of took the confidence and the faith out of things for a lot of people. And I'm not making excuses. The Sharks did go out and beat the Edmonton Oilers the very next game. Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, those kind of guys. Anyways, the Sharks would have set a record, or they would have gone in the history books if they would have lost to the Flyers. And so they had that going for them. They're sitting around waiting for the Flyers. This is not making excuses, because the Sharks are not a good team. Like they're not good. Like watching them, you almost can't believe that it's an NHL team. But they got 2 goals, and that's all it took. You get a hot goalie, and that's kind of it.
Yeah, they haven't Couture either. He's been hurt pretty much all season too. So even the guys that you can rely on are not there.
Yep, for sure. So after losing to the Sharks, you're kind of thinking to yourself, boy, this could be a long West Coast trip here. It was only 3 games. Obviously, they played all the California teams. But the next game was against the Anaheim Ducks, who you may recall beat the Philadelphia Flyers 7-4 at home in Philadelphia. So I'm not sure a lot of people were optimistic for that one. And I think what ended up happening was the Flyers kind of turned the tables a little bit to where they probably should have won the game in Philadelphia where they lost 7-4. They didn't play bad enough where the score, where they should have been scored on 7 times. And I thought the Anaheim game, I don't know if Anaheim played as bad as they did to lose 6-3. Anaheim, by the way, surprising hot start. They're currently 7-5 on the season. Sam Ersson ended up making 35 saves. And I would be remiss because I'm not this kind of guy. Travis Sanheim had a 3-point night against the Anaheim Ducks. We're looking at what was it? A 2 assist? He had a pretty goal that night, didn't he? Was it Sanheim?
Is that where he cut in front of the goal? He took it himself.
The Bobby Orr.
Yeah,
goal 2 assists for Sanheim that night.
Yeah, it's 10 pounds of muscle, baby.
I guess that's all it was, huh?
That's all it was. That's all he needed.
A little bit of confidence going for you. So yeah, the Flyers pick up 2 points. They take 2 points back from the Ducks, and then you're like, okay, well, they ended up getting the 2. They're probably going to get bent over, or I shouldn't have said bent over.
Too late.
But it's too late because we're live.
It's out there now.
They got bent over a barrel by the Los Angeles Kings at home, 5-0. And we're all kind of thinking, okay, the same thing's coming. Carter Hart's supposed to start. You're like, okay, maybe there's a chance. We find out Saturday morning he's sick. And it must have happened pretty quick because it was apparently later on in the morning, closer to afternoon, when they let Cal Peterson know, hey, you're going to be starting your second game of the year against your former team. And Peterson, I thought, started out a little shaky, where it was like, oh boy, if he doesn't get his stuff together, this could get gnarly. Flyers were outshot 37-26, but pulled out a pretty gutsy 4-2 victory. Owen Tippett back on the score sheet again. Morgan Frost nets 2 goals. Cam Atkinson keeps kind of trucking along here with his 8th goal. Do you have time to watch any of these games out on the West Coast, Jack? I know it's a little late. You usually are up at like ass crack at dawn for work.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of what I could. Definitely went back and watched what I could. And that Owen Tippett move and goal was just a beaut. I was showing people that one for sure. But I had to see. Well, the other thing we didn't really mention, I think we finished last show going into the San Jose game. My timeline might be a little off, but we knew that Frost was scratched. I think
that's true. Yeah, he was scratched against San Jose.
I can't remember I just can't remember if we talked about that or not, because we talked so much in our group chat and whatnot. That was a huge topic, and they go into San Jose minus Frost when the whole team had, you could have picked anybody to sit, and they sit Frost, and then they lose to the Sharks like that. He comes back into the lineup. I mean, I think he had an even game, but after that, he's just been back to creating goal-scoring opportunities. Nets 2 goals. I wouldn't call them the prettiest, but I don't really care as long as they go in. His first goal, kind of like a bank. Hey, take advantage of situations. He gets your you do that all the time. And then I don't even know how he deflected the other one. I had to watch that like 6 times to see but whatever. It went in. Frost looks good, making Tortorella look a little stupid. That's a strong word, but let's be real. Why did he bench him that second time? The first time was questionable enough as it was, but I like to have his back. And it's like, this guy needs to come in and be ready to play. He can't get off these slow starts. He makes his way back into the lineup, and he's the guy who gets benched. Come on. And then you lose to San Jose, and then he comes back and he's scoring goals and whatnot. So hopefully we can put this shit to bed. But it does bring up who's going to stay out of the lineup and I don't think this will happen, but goal scorers need to score, and that's where Forrester comes up. And honestly, I wouldn't bench him. I would play games with the 3rd and 4th line and make it work. I don't think that Forrester's. I know he hasn't scored, and when you compare, and I'm sorry if I'm jumping jumping around here, but these two are like kind of parallel for me in a bit, where one isn't producing really, but they're giving him all the rope in the world. Where Frost, the team, not even him, if the team does anything bad, he could be benched. Forrester, he's 21 years old. Last year, he had a very strong AHL season, and in his cup of coffee with the Flyers, he had 3 goals, 4 assists, or 7 points in 8 games with the Flyers. So obviously, we're all gung ho, and apparently the organization was too. So far this season, he's played 14 of 15 games. He only missed the home opener, so that's 14 games in a row. He has 0 goals, 3 assists for 3 points. He's averaging a little over 15 minutes of ice time a game. But I'll be honest with you, except for like maybe his first couple of games, he's involved in the offense. He just needs the friggin' puck to go in the net. I'm telling you, if this team is at the end of the game and they're nursing a 2-1 lead and there's an empty net, they need to get him out there. I don't care how it goes in. He just needs to score. And then I think he's going to score in bunches. It's just waiting to come. We know goal scorers are streaky. They score in bunches, but he's pretty up there with the team in goal scoring opportunities, chances, and pretty high scoring opportunities. He's just not scoring at all. And it's almost a shame. Talk about snake bitten, but it's like a tale of two players between Frost and Forrester. We're just totally different. And I'm most curious how long this is going to go on for. He's still playing well. It's not like he's a detriment out there. The puck's just not going in.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. And I think like maybe it's easier to see that kind of stuff, live. Like TV doesn't, they're not going to show, they're following the puck. So they're not showing Forrester getting into position here. They're not showing him do things without the puck. But I mean, look, I'm a Forrester guy, but I think it's also fair to say, hey, we're 14, 15 games into a season. This guy, while we want him to get the experience, is not scoring goals, and he does not do the things that a guy like Ryan Poehling does, who is sitting out right now for Morgan Frost. Do you know what I mean? Like, you want Poehling on your fourth line. If he's playing PK, you want him on PK. I know Forrester doesn't play PK. So at some point, if the goals don't start coming, because it doesn't look like to me, it doesn't look like it's affecting his confidence. I know there's some writers out there or whatever that are saying, well, it just looks like he's being hesitant or whatever. There's only one time, at least that I saw, where Forrester passed up a shot. I don't think there's a shot that he doesn't like, to tell you the truth. I think he knows why he's out there. He just needs one to hit the back of the net, like you said. So from when I watch him, I'm not worried about him at all. Do you know what I mean? Let me just bring him up real quick here. Like, he's getting his name's in the box score. He's putting up points. Here we go. Tyson Forrester, three assists in 14 games, but I think those are coming more of late. In 22 career NHL games, he's got 3 goals, 7 assists, 10 points. Let's say that's all in 1 year, 10 points in 22 games. You're like, all right, rookie season, not terrible. It sounds crazy to say, but he did himself a disservice last year. And did you say that already? When he scored 7 points in 8 games, 3 highlight reelish goals, like not like fluky goals. It was like, all right, this guy's got a shot, and he showcased it. It's almost like he did himself a disservice, because he's not a point per game player, and he won't be. In my opinion, Forster's maybe a better JVR. I can't say more consistent yet, because we're going 14 games without a goal, and that's very JVR-esque. But he will be a goal scorer, and as we know, goal scorers are a little streaky. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with Forrester. He's a big body. We're seeing the Flyers kind of rotate guys in that front presence on the power play. Why not Tyson Forrester? He's a big kid, 6'2", 215. He's listed as on Hockey DB. It's because they want his shot, they want, because he's got probably the best shot on the team. They want him to unload that shot, but let him get into the dirty spot. Let him get a dirty goal. Why isn't he net front?
I mean, on the power play, it's tied for dead last in the league. They need to try anything at this point. I could care. Put Bell. What's his name?
Belpedia,
Belpedia. But he's got more goals than Forrester. So screw it. Yeah, but I kind of agree with you in the sense that I think last year Forrester had a strong AHL season that rolled into his cup of coffee with the Flyers, which he took advantage of. You can't take that away from him. But he was rolling. He was looking good. And now you kind of shut it down for the season. You start back up. And I can almost go back to the rookie game where he was in these same situations with these same shot opportunities, and it just wasn't. He buried nothing, and it was like everything's there, but the finish. And it's not exactly like he's a dazzler or he's this defensive presence. I do think he's a bit of an underrated passer, but he's not here to pass. He's here to shoot. We got plenty of guys that can pass. Like you're here to shoot. So, but again, to that same point, he's 21 years old. Look at Lafreniere in New York. How's he looked the last couple of games? Small sample size, but they're young. They're young. So, I mean, I'm not by any means worried or anything like that. It just might not come together the way we think it's going to this year. But like as stated in the comments, and I couldn't agree more, imagine this team when you got guys like Cutter and Michkov and whoever the hell we had this year and whatnot.
Right.
Like there's more guys coming, and Forrester is on the list of guys talent-wise that this team should keyword should have. He's going to be like 5th or 6th in my opinion. So like we're not hedging all our bets on him. So just let him develop as naturally as you can. I don't think he needs to come out of the lineup yet. And hopefully you bury one. Maybe it's an empty netter. I've seen it get other guys going. I remember Scott Hartnell, after scoring 35 goals, had a slow start to the season, scored an empty net goal, and then he started scoring again. So, yeah, ideally, he starts going. I think your power play starts getting better if he can keep it rolling until he goes cold again, like most goal scorers do. But again, 21 years old, nothing to worry about.
No. And just because here's something that always kind of pissed me off while they had JVR. JVR was, I mean, he's known for being what they call him in the beginning of his career, pigeon. He's a passenger. He's a guy not going to create his own offense. So a guy like Forrester will need to play with a player like Morgan Frost or a player like Bobby Brink, a guy that's going to create, that can find him when he's open so that he can unleash the shot. Forrester is there's a comment from Dave here. I think this is about Forrester. He won't wow you until he starts putting the puck in the net, and when, he starts unleashing these shots, when his confidence comes back or whatever you want to call it, then you'll see, holy shit, this guy can shoot. But right now, just hasn't come yet, and that's okay. If he's sent down, great. If they continue to play him, that's great too, because he's not playing bad enough to be sent down, in my opinion. Just the goals aren't there. If you want to get him some goals in the AHL, go for it. Okay. Let's see what else we have on our topic list here. So yeah, Tippett and Frost got going in a big way during the West Coast trip. Usually, actually of late, the Flyers have been doing okay out west. At least I think. Let's go back.
The 3 losses were the Ducks, which they rectified, the Kings, which they rectified, and then pretty much that San Jose shellac. Oh, no, it's not shellac. They lost to a very bad team.
Yep.
Other than that, I think they cleaned house.
Yeah. So I want to say that Owen Tippett had he now has 5 goals and 10 points in 15 games. And
there you go.
We were all kind of wondering, when's this going to come here? It was a fluke year, whatever. 3 goals and an assist during the 3-game road trip, all coming in the last 2 games of it, back-to-back games against the Ducks and the Kings. So, and a highlight reel goal at that. I believe that was against LA.
I can't remember.
Yeah, I feel like maybe it was against Anaheim.
I think it was against Anaheim, now I think about it.
Yeah, so 4 points, 2 games. Owen Tippett's got it going on.
Yeah.
Huge boost for the Flyers. And Morgan Frost in the 2 games that he played, I believe he had 2 goals and an assist. Yep, 2 goals and an assist. And 2 of those goals came against the Los Angeles Kings, Jack, which goes against the argument that Morgan Frost only scores points against bad teams. So was good to see that, because I'm one of those guys. If we are going to be all about numbers and analytics, yada yada, you have to subscribe to all the numbers, and that's a real stat. Morgan Frost. I don't have the exact numbers. It's an Athletic article when Charlie O'Connor used to write there. 2/3 of his points last season came against bottom tier teams. So what did we want to see, or why were we kind of guessing why he wasn't playing against the Sharks? Because he doesn't have anything to prove against bad teams. We want to see him score against good teams. And so he did that. I think he proved, hey, yeah, I can score against the Kings, a potentially cup contending team, whatever they're doing over there. It was good to see. There were still little things that would annoy somebody like me. But I mean, 2 goals is 2 goals. Right, Jack?
It's not even just his goal scoring right now, too, because his passing has been fine. You know, there's so many plays out there right now where they're just not finishing. It's good to see him score. It's good to see him do it against good teams. But he's even doing small, elusive things in the neutral zone just to keep possession. Where I feel like any other Flyer in the past, as soon as they get pressured, they're either dumping it back in their own end, dumping it, losing possession, or just being stripped. So things like that are really great to see as well. So his overall game, I mean, outside of just flat out numbers, and you look at him getting benched as much as he was, and then being benched again, which normally throws a player off his rhythm. I think he's done outside of those first 2 games of the season. How can you complain about Frost? You can't. He's been overall a very good player. The only thing I have to check is his face-off numbers. I don't have that on top of my head.
Okay. Yeah, so those are 2 guys who, if the Flyers are going to win some games, they need to get going. And they're both signed to, I think Tippett's signed for this year. I don't think he got a new contract yet. And Frost is signed for 2. So these are 2 guys who, if they want to stick around, need to get it going. They need to prove that they're going to be, long-term players here. There was a rumor, we talked about it already, and it was kind of debunked, that the Flyers wanted to sign Tippett longer term, whatever. Apparently his agency debunked that, and that's that. But I think that eventually does happen down the road. So now the Flyers come back east. They have the Carolina Hurricanes tomorrow night. Cal Peterson and Victor Mete were sent down to the Phantoms. That's kind of where Mete should be playing. And Cal Peterson, I guess, was serviceable in a nice win against his former team. But that means one thing. That means Carter Hart is healthy again. As we know, he missed the entire road trip. They brought him out there to California, though, which was a good thing because he was previously injured and was supposed to start. I think it was the game against, originally it was Anaheim, but then they announced Urson. Hart was sick. Then Hart was supposedly feeling well enough to play the next day against Los Angeles. Last minute, we already talked about, Hart was scratched. And we find out today the reason why Hart was scratched, or at least this is what they said. Hart ate some bad fish. Hence, name of the episode, something fishy. Now, if you're like me, Jack, who is skeptical about everything, do I believe that he ate bad fish? I mean, these guys go to the best restaurants in every city they go to, right? So I don't believe that for a second, to tell you the truth, that he went somewhere and had bad fish. And maybe he was hungover. I don't know. You can't say that, though. Too much partying. Don't believe it for a minute, though. Any city these guys go to, they go to the best restaurants in every city. I mean, I guess depends on what kind of seafood, but you don't get sick off fish like that. So I don't know. I'm not going to make a huge thing, but they were out west, and this ties into one of our other topics. There's a team out west, first team in the NHL to fire their coach. Their superstars are upset. Two of the best players in the world, the best player in the world, McDavid, are upset. They just sent their starting goalie to the AHL, who they signed last year in Jack Campbell. Of course, I'm talking about the Edmonton Oilers. Do you take the chance and, get Hart hurt while maybe he's involved in trade talk, Jack? I don't know. I'm not connecting any dots. Just kind of throwing shit at a wall here. What do you make of all that? Is there anything there, you think?
I mean, the only thing I can't speak to the bad fish outside of the loss to San Jose. But if you're from an Edmonton standpoint, Ken Holland should be making every call imaginable on the goaltending market. And off the top of your head, can you think of any available goaltenders from any teams that are truly available? Like Carter Hart, isn't he like from the area or something? Or I can't remember exactly, or he knows friends out there or something like that. He's
Yep.
been rumored to them forever. He's young. He's under decent contract control for a little bit. Isn't he making less than $4 million? Like
Yeah.
I feel like, for a team that's in seriously bad financial situations, between Darnell Nurse, between um, other guys they've signed, by the way, who from guys like McDavid making those decisions, almost LeBroning it. If you listen to, I don't know if it's Jeff Merrick or 32 Thoughts or which one of those shows it was, um, but it just seems like there's been a lot of appeasement to keep McDavid happy. And now that the team is in this situation they're in now, he feels like he doesn't have a whole lot of help to begin with. I believe I saw a stat that said that McDavid or the Oilers only won 4 games or 8 games since McDavid was drafted, where both he and Draisaitl failed to record a point. I mean, he was drafted back in 2015. That's 8 years. Like, that's insane, absolutely insane. And some of these albatross contracts are really biting them in the ass. And so, if I'm Ken Holland, and it's not like you can go out and just trade for any defenseman or any forward, and I think they've had their fair share of guys they brought in at forward. Goaltending makes the most sense, and this Hart was essentially traded, we all thought, the same day Provorov was moved, so he's got to be available. At the end of the day, it's going to come down to what's going on in this Hockey Canada situation, juniors, whatever it is. I believe some information had just come out on that. I can't remember what it was exactly, but it just seems like if that can be rectified, if Danny Briere is down on Hart allegedly, and they have all these other goalies coming in, they're drafting 2 goalies and whatnot, it's not all that crazy that he could be moved. So do I think that's why he missed the game? I don't know. I feel like a trade like that's going to take a couple of at least a week, if not 2, to really come together. I wouldn't be against the Flyers taking advantage of the Oilers' really bad situation out there, though. That team cannot afford McDavid to pull LeBron and take his talents elsewhere. Like, they might as well fold, because Draisaitl will do it too. And then what do you have? A bunch of bad contracts.
I mean, it's true. I don't know what's going to happen out there, but those two guys are clearly frustrated. I don't think that Edmonton trades them. So any deal, because the first thing everybody thinks of when you're like, oh, Edmonton wants a goalie, Carter Hart. They ain't moving McDavid. They ain't moving Draisaitl. Like those they need those two guys. So my thing is, okay, well, yeah, you can keep McDavid, keep Draisaitl, keep Nurse, but we do need something back. And while the Flyers are building, they're rebuilding. If Edmonton is a Stanley Cup contending team, now they're literally at the bottom of the standings right now. So I'm not sure how much ground they can make up. But let's just say for the sake of a conversation, they make the playoffs and, end up making a run. Do we really want their 2024 first round pick? Or do we want a proven commodity? Edmonton, by the way, is 4-9-1 currently with 9 points. They are one of 2 teams in the NHL with single-digit points still. They have won 2 in a row. But what I'm getting at is, and the Flyers are building too, and they're missing something right now. And this kind of ties in with a later topic, but they don't have a defenseman with a lethal shot from the blue line, from the point. And, we've talked about how bad the power play's been. Well, it's a very one-dimensional, very vanilla power play. You know where the shots are coming from. And when you know where the shots are coming from, it's easier to defend. I don't want to say it's very easy, but it's easier to defend. When you have a guy, when your quarterback of the power play, when your offensive defenseman can actually shoot and get pucks to goal, now it's a little scary because nobody wants to block that shot, right? So you're setting up to take it away. And now you have, you open up shots for Forster, Tippett, because everyone's so focused on the guy at the point. I don't know. It just opens things up. Of course, I'm talking about Evan Bouchard. I don't know if I said his name yet. I believe he's 23, 24 years old. Had a massive playoffs last year with Edmonton, and that was enough for me. I know they have McDavid and Draisaitl, so it may open things up for him to for his numbers to maybe look better than he is. I know for some people, Bouchard doesn't really do much. Currently -5. In last year's playoffs, this dude put up 17 points in 12 games as a defenseman. The year before, he had 9 points in 16. 40-point season last year, 2 40-point seasons so far with Edmonton. This year, 12 points in 14 games, 3 goals. 10th overall pick in the 2018 draft. Yeah, he's 24, 6'3", 192 pounds he's listed as. And a right-handed shot. So he would play, I would assume, play on the top pair. And of course, I have the future in mind still. Flyers drafted Bonk, obviously, is right-handed D. I think Bonk is more meant for second pair, unfortunately. And then, let the rest of the guys fight it out for the third pair. Your Helga Grans, your man, why can't we remember this guy's name? Jamie
Ginning?
Bascal's guy. Yinning.
Oh, you're thinking of
right-handed guys, yeah.
Ethan
Ethan Sampson, yeah, that's it. Yeah. So
Yeah.
even Adder. So they have a plethora of guys, but I'm not sure they're any better than bottom pair guys, which is fine. So they're still looking for that top defensive partner. And I don't know if Bouchard is elite, but he can certainly help a power play. And would I do it straight up for Hart? I don't know. Some people think the opposite, whereas, you're not going to get all that for a goalie, yada, yada. I would be asking for a Bouchard to be included in the deal. I do like Evan Bouchard. Did you talk about all that stuff already, Jack? Potential trades?
No, I'm glad. Not well. What I brought up basically was that Flyers should be looking to take advantage of the Oilers situation. They have a lot. I'm looking at their cap friendly, and they got some albatross contracts. I mean, Darnell Nurse is making 9.25 from now until eternity. It is ridiculous. Ekholm's okay, I guess. Bouchard's almost making $4 million a year. You spoke about Campbell already. Zach Hyman, who's not a bad player, but 5.5 for another 5 years. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, 5.1 for quite a while. They do have some money coming off the books, but they don't have a whole lot of talent there. I mean, Evander Kane's not the same guy when they first got him. Dylan Holloway is very young, but I've seen very little from him. Sam Gagne's back there. He's 34 years old. It's just a bunch of guys. Like, you gotta, especially on defense as well. And it's tough, but they haven't had goaltending. They thought they had him. That blew up in their face. I can see a situation. Well, first off, Bouchard's not that proven yet. I mean, don't get me wrong, those playoff points are great, but the Flyers have had defensemen in the past score hat tricks in the playoffs. And if I can think of this guy's name, it'll be a pull of all pulls. But it doesn't make him automatically he's going to do that for you every year. So meanwhile, Hart has a more of a proven track record at a position that's a lot harder to get for your team, and he's young. I think they both are. How old's Hart? 24.
I think he's about the same age.
Yeah, Bouchard just turned 24. He's 6'3", which I really like. But Hart, he's a goalie. He's young. You're telling me 1-for-1? I think the Flyers should get more back there. The salaries are pretty close to matching up. I'll even take on one of the contracts, not a crazy one, like something that can help. Andy Delmore, he got it. That's exactly what I was talking about. Andy Delmore in like 2001 or 2 had a hat trick in the playoffs. Did not make him, that's why sample size is key. That being said, Bouchard's going to be pretty damn good. But they're the team that are desperate. They're going for it now. We have a better record than they do, or pretty close to it. No, we definitely have a better record than they do. They're the bottom of the league. I think the only team they have a better record than is the San Jose Sharks. That's how bad things are, and they're in very serious danger of both their stars leaving. And Draisaitl has this year and next year, and he's a free agent. And McDavid could force his way out if he really wanted to. I mean, it's Edmonton. It's not New York. It's not like the big popular town. Like, they need to do something, and they need to do something quick. And they don't have a whole lot of wiggle room. Take advantage of that situation. We should get more. It should not be 1-for-1. I'm okay taking back a contract. They should get, if they do pull that trigger, and whatever happens with the World Junior stuff, and with Hart is cleared or whatever, they should. I almost said what you said earlier. They should take care of business. They should win out.
Bend him over a barrel.
I guess it's out there. So yeah, as close as you can. As close as you can. You know what I mean? Bouchard plus. That's the way I look at it. Bouchard plus. And if they want to throw back a contract that's reasonable, you can make a little more out of them. But I don't think it's crazy, because if they're supposed to be good, maybe not this year's first, because they have such a bad record. Things might take a while to get going. Maybe next year's or something. But Bouchard and some kind of first. Maybe you take a bad contract back. Hart, and I don't know. Maybe you can throw him a fourth liner or something, halfway. I don't know. So anything. I don't think that they're coming at us with like all this leverage, because they have no leverage. They need to do something quick.
Yeah, they do. I'm for it. I love Carter Hart. There's a lot of people out there who say, trading him would be a mistake. Yeah, I don't know that I'm necessarily like advocating, but if there's a trade that's going to happen, let's just say that, I would want Bouchard back. He's the guy I would want, right? It's not to say that I wouldn't want McDavid. It's just not. It's just that's a pipe dream. That's not happening. McDavid and Draisaitl will never play for the Flyers. So
not together.
Yeah, no. So Bouchard would be my guy, and from what I hear, they're not crazy about him up there. At least fans are not crazy about him. So it's going to sound crazy to say, but maybe there's a little bit less pressure for him to perform in Philadelphia right now. Like, I don't know if you've been to any games yet, but the crowds are still not good. And I don't want to make a huge deal about that, but there are not too many people at Flyers games. So I'm not sure how great the pressure will be. And the media today is not the same as it was back then. So, people want to talk about pressure in Philadelphia. I think they're thinking of the past. Does that make sense, Jack? Because the stadiums are certainly not, the arena's not packed every single night.
Well, that's just it. This pressure wouldn't be there, at least at first, because we're clearly in a rebuild. Like it's been said. Well, Edmonton's panicking because they are not. They're contenders.
They're wasting McDavid.
Yes, and Draisaitl. They're pretty much at the cap ceiling or pretty close to it. I don't know what they have left in cap space with injuries and whatnot, but it can't be too much. They're doing everything they can to appease current cap space, $26,000. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think they need to do something. So they have to make a move with not much to do with. So you're kind of limited in what you can do. Don't know many other teams that are offering young goalies. And like you said, it's like, and it's said in the chat, and I don't disagree, could absolutely be a mistake. But we're operating under the idea that management has already looked past Hart. And Bob was a mistake, but that he got to blame. Unfortunately, got to blame that on Snyder. He forced Holmgren's hand to sign the nutcase Brizgalov, and Bob wasn't going to be a backup. It just came down to that. and it was a mistake. Two Vesnas. My God. Hart, if management's moved on from him with all the goalies they've been drafting, the guys coming along, Ursan, what's the other? Kolzov? I can't remember. I haven't checked on him in a while. He's got the same trajectory as guys such as Shesterkin and Sorokin, like that. That's just another goalie they have. The Fedotov we talked about ad nauseum in the summer. They got a lot of guys in the pipeline, so it would not surprise me if they're in a situation. I wouldn't do it, but then again, I would still listen. I would still see the packages coming our way. So why wouldn't you take advantage of a team that is in dire need, who could potentially move a very good player, because they have bigger issues? Like losing McDavid's probably a lot more important to them than a defensive prospect. And they're getting a young goalie too. It's not like they're blowing it up in some capacity or gambling on a guy who's going to leave in a year or two or whatnot. So I think if they play this right, I don't know who else could match them in offering a young goalie, which is like their number one need. Maybe they could use a number one defenseman, but who's dangling that? What other teams are in position to be giving up all these premium positions? It's unique with the Flyers too. They're in a weird spot as well. So I don't think it's all that crazy.
Well, they even have more ammunition to send, because it's like, okay, well, if the Oilers are a potential cup contending team, yeah, they're getting Hart, but they're giving up one of their top 4 defensemen in Bouchard. Well, it's like, okay, well, the Flyers have a player that's overperforming so far this year in Sean Walker. Why not toss him into the deal? Because I'm trying to look from Edmonton's perspective. Yeah, they get the goalie, but now they got to replace a top 4 defenseman. You know what I mean? Like I would be fine as long as the Flyers get what they want. Yeah, toss in Sean Walker or who's another good top 4 defenseman on the Flyers right now. I don't know.
Well, you can throw in Sealer if you think guys are going to actually be moved. Like Sealer, you got to think cost control guys that they can afford with their cap situation. Sealer doesn't cost anything. You know what I mean? And he would definitely help in a sense. They obviously need more than that. But I look at it like they have to make moves for now and for the future. But when I say the future, the goaltending being young, yeah, that's definitely a big win right there because he grows with your team and whatnot. I did mention that a couple of times that I don't think anything's happening, but there was an update on that. I don't remember exactly what it was.
Nothing's coming out is what it was. So
is he just locked in?
So I was going to comment on this comment. Hart. So Jay Grabby checks in. Jay, thanks for checking in. Hart not movable until Hockey World Junior Classic investigation released. They're not releasing it. Is what came out today. I think the players appealed, and it's not coming out. At least not anytime soon. Not anytime soon, I say. But I don't think until sometime after Christmas. Right. And we were told that it was going to come out over the summer. So the players are fighting this. So this is the deal. And nothing's really changed since. Nobody's been charged with anything. Right. So the players are saying you can't release our names if we haven't been charged. Right. And as much as, whoever deserves to be punished, they're right in that sense. How can the NHL punish them if they haven't been charged with a crime yet? Doesn't make sense. And that's still where we are. So the players are fighting back and whatever.
I don't think a team like the Oilers, who need to do something, have time to wait around. Ken Holland is 68 years old. This is probably his last go as GM. You're looking at, if we got to keep these 2 guys here, we got to show them something. The deal could be struck for sure.
And Jay chimes in one more time. Bouchard's a guy I would ask for. If they balk, maybe better trade partners out there like LA. Yeah, and we'll see. We'll see how it plays out.
We have other teams we can talk to. Who's Edmonton able to talk to about getting a good goalie? Not to mention how young Hart is. If you're going to give up a young guy, wouldn't you want a young guy back?
Yeah, they definitely can't do the patchwork route again with with the Skinner and then going out and signing Campbell. Like, that was a mistake. The guy had a decent year with Toronto, and then they go out and sign him to a pretty decent contract, and it's kind of backfired in their face. So no more patches out there, and we'll see. Like we said, we're not advocating for a Hart trade, but there could be a match there with Edmonton. You know,
it looks like he's at 3.85 for this season and 3 more after that. It's not horrible, but they don't have a lot of cap space to begin with, so they got to do something. You can't sit on your hands and hope that when McDavid's fully healthy and things just click into place. Like, it's not going to work that way.
Yep. You get Bouchard out there with the shot, and maybe you have a guy like Brink or Frost, or if they go defenseman, a York or Sanheim that can move the puck. You know, you put a puck mover out there with, a guy with the bomb. It makes things a little bit more difficult. Right now, they have 2 guys playing the points that, don't have that shot. So essentially, opponents, like I mentioned, and I'll keep mentioning, they don't have to worry about who's got the puck at the point. It's where are they going with it after. You know what I mean? So, while we're talking about the power play, I don't know how much more faith I can have in Rocky Thompson. Like, power play is so vanilla, man. I know we want to give him a chance and let things play out, but it's not happening. Can we get like an actual power play guy in here, like an offensive minded guy that knows what he's doing with the power play? I know some of it's personnel, probably a lot of it's personnel related, but can we just seek some maybe like creativity? Like, hey, this isn't working. Let's change it up a little bit. Let's find a way. It's frustrating.
I understand personnel, but when you're dead last, technically tied for dead last, come on. Any personnel can get something at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It seems like you have enough personnel where you should be able to, with the man advantage score. Come on.
Yeah,
don't they have like 4 shorthanded goals? They have more shorthanded goals than new power play goals?
Exactly.
Like, come on.
Yep.
And you got to get a guy to get the puck to the net, right, Jim? That's why you want Bouchard so bad.
That is why. And, people can say whatever they want to say about him. Admittedly, I haven't watched him as closely like I have since the playoffs last year. But I fall in love with guys who have a shot like that, and he's got a friggin' howitzer. And it's heavy. It's not, oh shit, what a shot. It's a heavy shot. Like, it hits the back of the net, and you can hear it kind of shot. So I don't know. When's the last time the Flyers had a guy that could shoot like that on the back end? Ghost was fun. He did it for a year or two and kind of faded away. But he couldn't. He had the same issue some of the guys on the Flyers have now. He stopped getting pucks to goal. His shot was blocked. He was hitting screens. Wasn't making it to the target, missing the net, things like that. They need a guy who can get the puck to goal. So it is what it is. Next topic, Jack. Should we move on?
I believe we should.
All right. So speaking of getting puck to goal, I had the pleasure of joining the OMB podcast last week with Isaiah, Chef, and special guest was Russ Cohen, and love those guys. We were talking about the struggles of Tippett, York, Forster. This was before Tippett put up 4 points during the West Coast trip. And Russ had mentioned those 3 guys needed a shooting coach. And, I didn't do too much research into that. Russ knows more than I do for sure when it comes to prospects and things like that. But the one guy that he talked about a little bit was Cam York. And we had talked about this on past shows, maybe during the summer. I can't recall when exactly, but one of the issues that I had with York was he can't get pucks to goal. And I think we're seeing that now this season. He's struggling to get the puck to the net, And I'm talking about obviously from the blue line or outside long shots, things like that. And I'm not saying he's got to score on these shots. He's got to get the shot through. He's got to get the puck to the net before the lanes close. And that's been my problem. The other issue that I have with him, well, it's not really his fault, but he's playing on the top pair, I guess, because Ristolainen is out. Cam York's the second pair D. And, it's unfortunate because they used to pick on him and they took him before they took Cole Caulfield, but they drafted a second pair defenseman he should be playing on the second pair. He's, in my opinion, getting exposed on that top pair. And what I worry about is his confidence, because now he's getting his butt whooped on the top pair. And when he's demoted, I'm sorry, it's not necessarily a demotion, but it would come off as one. Like, hey, you couldn't really cut it on the top pair. We're going to put you back on the second. Whereas if he would have started where he belonged and is still playing there on the second pairing, when needed or when he's playing well, you can bump him up to the first and then, bring him back to where he belongs. And it's not so much a demotion kind of thing. It's like, hey, you're playing really well. We'll bump you up and then put you back when you're done. So, yeah, Cam York, I'll run through his stats real quick here. Just this way we all have an idea what he's doing. That's a little deceiving. I just want to throw that out there. All right, so he's got a goal, 3 assists in 4 games for 4 points in 15 games. I think we may have all expected a little bit more than that. Actually, me, not so much. But 4 points, 15 games, Jack. Cam York, what have you seen so far?
I think you nailed it. I mean, if he was as good as billed to this point, and I do think he was good last year, not like crazy good, but
Sure.
Where I thought he would take a step forward this year, and we would see that power play look a lot better. He's the perfect guy to quarterback that power play where his specialty would really be, almost where I wouldn't care what he would do at 5-on-5. I say that, facetiously. Oh God, try saying that with these damn headphones on. But like I really look for his offense, and you have the worst power play in the league. I look for this guy to get to the puck to the net a lot more consistently and be a lot smarter with his plays. And I don't want to say it's night and day, but it's pretty close. I mean, there's so many players you look at this year, like Brink and whatnot, and you're very pleasantly surprised. Where York, I'm just kind of like, man, like I feel like everybody was on this bandwagon of looking better, Frost doing better, TK's got crazy good points. Like, Sanheim, Sanheim's really he leads the team in points. Like, my God. Coots looks back for the most part. And like York's like on that, like dragging us down. I shouldn't say he's dragging us down, but like he's one of the guys I would have had at the top of that list of performing well this year, and he's just nowhere near it. And I'm not worried because they're all young and it's defense, and defense always takes longer. But there's so much cluster on the forwards, and there's so much opportunity with defense. You would hope that he would really take advantage. And when you think about the defensemen who really shine this year, you can name almost everybody before you get to York. Sanheim, Walker, Sealer does what he does. Ristline is hurt, so you can't say much about that. Stahl's hurt, so you can't say much about that. But geez, even we mentioned him earlier. Is it Belpedo has 2 goals in his short stint? I mean, I really thought York be right up there with. I thought Sanheim was going to have a meh year, so I thought he could be leading the defense in points, and he's nowhere near it. You said 3 points he has, or 4 points?
4 points, a goal, and 3 assists. Yeah.
I mean, of the defensemen who play pretty consistently, he's only beaten Sealer. Sealer's got 2 assists, and he's a +9, where York has 4 points, goal and 3 assists, and is a -3. So that's not exactly something. He's got 16 penalty minutes. Sealer's got 28, but Sealer drops the gloves. So, right. I mean, it's not. I'm not concerned or anything like I alluded to earlier, but Christ, man.
Yeah, it's has not been, I think, what a lot of people expected, and I was just more so trying to temper an expectation with York because he is good with the puck, but if you go back and watch him, he's not a goal scorer. Like, he's not a goal scoring defenseman. He's a puck mover. Which I think is okay because you need those in today's NHL. But in my opinion, these kind of guys need to be paired with a guy that can get the puck to the net. That's just my opinion. People can think different, and that's perfectly fine. But for me, I'm still stuck on, if you're an offensive defenseman, I need you to get the puck to the net. So that's all.
Well, and he's only, of the defensemen, shooting percentage is 5%. It's only above Sealer of the guys who play consistently.
Yeah.
You're going to have to do a lot better than that.
Yeah. And, his year will get better as we go on here, but he's not a 10, 15 goal defenseman. He's 5, 6 goals, maybe 30, 35 assists, something like that. And I think we should, I said this during the summer, a lot of people disagreed, and maybe I'm wrong. We should be okay with, it sucks because where we took him, but he's a 40-point second pair defenseman, and it is what it is. As long as he's not giving up goals, that's perfectly fine. So it's kind of my take there on Cam York. I wanted to kind of tie him in a little bit. We do have one more topic tonight, unfortunately. So it was announced basically on every media outlet that a man was arrested for the death of Adam Johnson. Jack, do you want to elaborate on this a little bit more?
Yeah, I definitely saw on ESPN. Well, I saw on everything, like you said, but it looks like where'd it go? Arrest made and skate death. A suspicion of manslaughter in Adam Johnson death. So he was arrested, not formally charged yet, from what I saw. And it was interesting what I saw on Twitter with certain accounts. One of which I responded to. People, I wouldn't say taking his side, but being worried that, God forbid, he was brought in for manslaughter. Every skate cut that I've seen has been the player doing the cutting. It usually isn't even facing the player. He's falling forward. The foot goes up, catches a guy behind him. He doesn't even know is there. Sometimes teammates do it to each other by accident. But this was a missile drop kick, and I see people trying to turn it like the way he bumped or tried to stop or something. It's all bullshit. Now, I don't think he purposely tried to hit him in the throat with his skate. He just strikes me as like this player for Golden State would like kick people in the nuts when he would not get a rebound. And we've all played against players like that who just like can't lose, so they do cheap little crap like that. I don't know if this guy allegedly has a history of being a, I'm not saying he goes around cutting everybody, but he just is not a good history in the league. Like he's just known. And to see him like do this kick, I watch it over and over again. I'm like, I don't see how he's not trying to make contact with this guy in some capacity with his skate. That doesn't make him a first degree murder guy, but manslaughter is not crazy. If you play recklessly and something like this happens, you are at fault to a degree. I don't see how you can argue that. And there's people online saying, "Well, I'm going to have second thoughts about playing in England or whatever it was, or whatever the guy said. If I'm worried about getting arrested." I'm like, I have a better idea. Maybe don't drop kick people with blades on your feet, and you'll be just fine. Like,
Imagine that.
I just couldn't believe that people think that way. Like, come on, if you play this recklessly, this stupidly, and something like this happens, and this is so blatant that he just did something screwed up. I'm not going to say he tried to kill him or anything, but so blatant, like a non-hockey play, even non-hockey reaction to any hit I've ever seen, unless you get completely upended, which is not what happened. Like, I have no idea what the hell he was doing or why, and it was a negligent, reckless play. And manslaughter, what do you, when you get in your car when you're drunk and you're driving, you don't want to kill anybody, but you're putting people at risk. But you fucking jump in the air like that with your skates out, your blades out. You probably don't want to hurt anybody, but you might. And something like this happens, yeah, you should be investigated. I'll leave it at that. I'm not saying he needs to go to jail or anything. He should be investigated, 100%. Family lost their son. That's serious. That's as serious as it gets.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Some of the responses on Twitter are typical, I guess, right? It's what you expect. I mean, everybody has a right to an opinion, and that's why we're expressing ours. So I was trying to find an analogy for this, and you used the drunk driving. I mean, just imagine that you're driving down the street and you are distracted for a second and you hit somebody. You know what I mean? Not even that you're texting and you're doing something that you shouldn't. Maybe something catches your eye as you're driving. You're looking at a billboard, I don't know, and you hit somebody. You kill them. You didn't mean to kill them. It was an accident. but you killed them because you were distracted. You weren't watching the road. You weren't doing what you should have been doing. Should they not be punished? Do you know what I mean? Doesn't happen every day.
I have a degree in criminal law and justice. Went to Rowan University. That's what I got it in. I've seen people get arrested and sometimes even convicted for less, and for just making a mistake. A mistake, like you didn't throw your feet up in the air with something that could kill you on the bottom of them. If it's all right with you, Jim, Tom put in our chat, I think it'd be interesting to read since we're literally on the subject. This is Dr. Victoria Silverwood. I'm a criminologist with 16 years experience researching violence in sports, specifically ice hockey. I understand the confusion that a lot of hockey players and fans are experiencing at the moment. While it's not necessary, it is common practice that a person whose actions lead to an unexpected death may be arrested in order for information to be gathered about an event and potentially for restrictions to be put in place. I see no issues with that while investigations are carried out. As with all unexpected deaths, this matter has been passed to the coroner, who will fully investigate the case and pass judgment on evidence. This process can take months or even years to fully investigate. Importantly, an arrest does not equal guilt. Even a criminal charge does not equal guilt. We need to let the legal system run its course and avoid speculating on sensationalized accounts. All I'm saying is, if somebody did that to my kid, at the very least, they need to be investigated. This needs to be taken. He was arrested. He was not charged. And even if he were to be charged, that's not a conviction. And I'm of the type that you are innocent until proven guilty. A lot of people aren't like that anymore. I'm still like that. I have a degree in criminal law and justice. Innocent until proven guilty. So no matter what happens, there needs to be a final verdict, but there should be an investigation. Somebody died needlessly.
Yeah, like let's not forget that. And somebody friggin' died here. Somebody's son, brother, friend. I don't know how you can watch that video and say it was an accident. It was an accident that he killed the guy. He kicked him in the throat. How can you say that's an accident? Oh man, I just don't. Everyone's got a different perspective. So I assume innocence in everything because I think people are just good. I know there are bad people, but when I meet somebody or if I don't know somebody, I assume that they're good because I'm good. I have good intentions. So I assume that anybody that I come in contact with or see is good. But that doesn't mean that I can't. My eyes are showing me that this guy kicked this guy in the throat with an ice skate. Doesn't matter what. Like the other thing is people want to bring up race and color. If you see color in something like that, maybe you're the problem. Maybe you need to look in the mirror. All I see is one guy kicked another guy in the face with a friggin' ice skate. And some people are saying, "Oh, if he was white." No, he still killed the guy. Like get out of here with that stuff. It's Bush, it's BS. You might want to take a look in the mirror if you want to bring up race and something like this. It's a shame. It really is. It's a shame. A friggin' guy died, and we want to argue because this guy happened to be black. This is the only reason why this is happening. People live in such an insane society, man.
People saying that are just pushing their own agenda, but don't actually give a shit about what actually happened.
It's a goddamn shame, man. Somebody lost his life. Somebody lost their son, their husband, their
Wasn't
brother.
He like 29? Like he was, like whole life ahead of him.
It's a shame. Yeah, I mean, all I want is for the right thing to happen. If this guy sincerely, if he can admit that he didn't kick him, that it wasn't an intentional thing, and it's the truth, that's what I want. However, when you watch that video, if you can say that what he did was a hockey move, is something that you typically do when your leg's in the air, all right, that's not what I saw. It looked like it looked to me like he jumped. He made it look like his knee hit another knee or something, and then decided to extend his skate, and he fucking killed somebody. So, hey, you got to suffer the consequences. So that's where I'm going to leave. I'm going to leave it at that. It's insane. Yeah, because I mean, Imagine that's your brother, your son, your dad. And you're going to tell me that wasn't intentional. I don't know. I believe in forgiveness and second chances and all that, but didn't have to die. Didn't have to be that way. So that's all. I'll finish there.
Wish I had something more jolly to end on.
Flyers play the Hurricanes tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Hasn't been good against Carolina of late, but we'll see. They're in Raleigh. I believe that wraps up the road trip. Let me just double check that because I know that they're home Saturday. Okay, so they have Carolina tomorrow night. What's today, Jack?
Tuesday, the 14th.
Okay, yeah, sorry. I was looking at the 28th. So they have Carolina tomorrow. The Flyers have been off for 3 days. They have Carolina tomorrow, and then they're off for 2 more days before they play the Vegas Golden Knights
Oh, boy.
at 1 o'clock Saturday, and then they have a 5:30 evening game against the Columbus Blue Jackets on Sunday, and that'll finish up the week. So next 3 games, Jack, the Flyers go what?
Well, it's funny because these are teams so you say Carolina, Vegas, and who was the last team?
Columbus.
So they tend to go back and beat teams they lost to the first time, but I think Carolina, especially Vegas, are pretty good. I do think they beat Columbus, though, and I think they make Provorov, give up a juicy, bad pass in his own zone. I'll say they go 1-1-1. Is that a cop-out?
No.
1-1-1. They beat Columbus. I'll say they lose to Vegas, but they lose in overtime. We'll say shootout to Carolina.
I think that's fair. I'll go. We'll stay positive here. I'll go 2-1. Maybe they sneak out a win against Carolina, lose to Vegas, and beat Columbus.
Heyo.
So, all right. So we'll wrap it up on positive note. Great show. Thank you to everybody in the comments. Slaypool, Shadow, Eric, A-Dubs, thanks for checking in. Dan Knightley, thanks for checking in. Eric Wisniewski, and Jay Grebby. We had a nice little group tonight. If you guys were watching on Flyers Nation, make sure to tune in every week. Give us a subscribe on YouTube and Spotify. And if you're watching on Twitter or YouTube, thank you as always. Make sure you're subscribed. You can find us at High and Wide Radio. And give us a little check-in on the site, hwhockey.net. Podcast will be up there tomorrow. We're going to wrap this up. Everybody enjoy the rest of your week, and let's go Flyers.
Wayne Stevenson.
Wow. I didn't even